Hello, everyone. I'm Joe Bradley, and I just want to thank you for stopping by this page of mine. And I just want to take a few moments, and over the next few days, I want to post some very helpful, practical steps towards moving into uh, the reality of your dream and of your goals. Because the reality of it is, uh, if we're going to succeed, then we're going to know not only what our goal is and what our dream is, not only what we want, but we have to know how to get there. And so, over the next few days, and I want you to follow me. If this is helpful, and share it. Over the next few days, I'm going to be just talking about some uh, very foundational practical principles in realizing and achieving our goals and our dreams. And so today, you know, the first step, of course, and we've already talked about this, but the first step is uh, we have to realize our goal. We have to know what it is that we want, make up in our mind what it is that we're looking for, and keep it in a tangible, uh, realistic place in our minds. Because oftentimes our goals are just they're too far out of reach, so that they there's something that we want, and that we there's something that we look forward to, and we tell people about, but we it lies in the back of the imagination of our minds, and we never bring it into the forefront. We never make it a realistic thing. And so that's the first step. And so but after this, once we get to the point where we know what it is we want, we can we have it it's a realistic view, a realistic attainable goal, and we can see the step by step journey, then we have to take those steps. Now, uh, today I want to talk about uh, one key principle, and then as the days continue, I'll add another principle uh, to achieving the goal. Some things that we cannot succeed without. We're not going to be able to succeed. And what looks like success is not always success. So I'm not saying that everyone an, who has a large amount of money, or who has riches, and who has, who's making six figures a month and all that stuff. I'm not saying that every one of them have done these things, because it's possible to make a lot of money but not be wealthy. See, wealth is not only about having a whole lot of money and being able to go a lot of places and all that, but wealth is really being able to live the life that you want to live without being someone other than who you are. Wealth is being able to 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 experience and live with your family and with your friends and go wherever you want to go, but it's about actually being who you were designed to be, and enjoying it with the people that you love. That's real wealth. And not everyone has experienced that, even the people who've made a whole lot of money. And so today I want to talk uh, about the first principle, the first key principle, and it actually comes from a man who was probably the wealthiest man to ever live, and the wisest as well. And we all know him as King Solomon. This passage is a very practical passage from a man who was extremely wealthy. And this is what he said. He said in verse 11, or chapter 11 of verse number 1 of the book of Ecclesiastes, he says, "Send out your bread on the water, for in many days you will find it. Divide your share in 7 or in 8, for you do not know what disaster will happen on earth." Over the next few days, we're going to cover the rest of those verses up to verse number 6. But today, I'm just going to talk about verses 1 and 2. And before anyone thinks I'm going to the altar call or going to church or trying to get somebody to follow me to church, that's not what this is about. Um, this is really the first principle, the first practical principle in achieving goals, and that is charity. That is giving. So we have to learn how to give. We have to understand that if we don't know how to give, then number one, we don't know how to live. See, because life is not in necessarily just receiving all of the benefits. And so many of us are looking for benefits and looking for ways that we can take something from someone. Uh, what can they give me? What am I going to get out of this? But but life is not about, and true wealth is not about uh, what we can get and what can we receive. But true wealth is really about what can we give? What how can I benefit someone else? Right? And here's why. Because no matter where we come from, no matter what kind of life we've lived, no matter what kind of education we have, what kind of family background we come from, whether we know both of our parents or not, no matter whether we blue collar, white collar, whatever kind of background we find ourselves in, here's the reality: life is filled with ups, middles, and downs. And many times we don't recognize the ups because we're so negative minded maybe. And many times we don't really we don't really uh, admit the downs, if you will. But all of us are going to experience, if we already haven't, we're going to experience ups, middles, and downs. Just because I have succeeded today doesn't mean that I'm always going to succeed. And if we look at any graph of stock of any stock of any business, any successful business, you look at their stocks and you'll see the volatility shows that there were up times, down times, up seasons and down seasons. But when the time comes when we are up, what we do when we are up is going to determine how we fare when we're down, right? And so Solomon says, send out your bread on the water. See, when we get a large sum, and this may be the missing link in the reason why many of us have not moved forward, because we get something and we hold on to it. But we need to look for someone to help. Look for someone to give to. And it's not all about giving money, but I'm talking about giving your time, giving your talent, giving your ability. There's someone who needs exactly what you have right now. And maybe the reason why you haven't moved forward is because you're still trying to hold on to that little bit of time you have. You're still holding on to that little bit of money that you have. You're still holding on to this. And he says, if you give it away, then it's going to come back. Here's what I believe. I believe that when we have something, when we have something that we hold in our hands as our possession, I believe that that is ours, right? But there is a part of that. I believe that that's ours, and that is the complete harvest of whatever it was that we sowed a long time ago, right? Because I do believe in the sowing and reaping process. I really do. Uh, and some people call it what goes around comes around. Some people call it uh, karma. Some people call it, you get. Uh, some people call it tables turning in your favor, or whatever you might want to call it, sowing and reaping, whatever. But when we receive it, when we receive something, that is the result of something that we've sowed, right? And this is why charity is so important. This is why giving is so important. This is why treating people good and treating people right is so important, because it's always, he says, in many days you will find it. What it is that I send out, it's going to come back to me in many days. And it may not come from the same source that I gave it to. Oftentimes, in fact, it comes from entirely different sources. It comes from places that maybe we never we didn't even know, right? And it always comes. Watch this. It always comes in the same form. A quick story, a true story. That we put it out of what I'm talking about to prove that this is it. So I'm riding down Beltway 8, which is in Houston. That's where I live, and it's rainy. In the first 15, 20 minutes of rain, the roads gets slippery and all that stuff like that. And so they tell you, if you don't have to, don't drive. But if you do, be very careful. Now in Houston, I don't know about where you live, but in Houston, people drive as if when it rains, people drive as if number one, it's not raining, or number two, they've never seen rain before, right? And so people just do crazy things. Like, I don't know, but there was this lady who she was driving, and it hadn't been raining long, and she lost control of her SUV, and she hydroplaned and then crashed into the barricade on the side, the barrier on the side. So uh, I was about maybe 5 or 6 car lengths behind her, and the cars that were in front of me were dodging and trying to get around her and trying to get away. So uh, they were trying to get away from hitting her, get out of the way from hitting her, and they just drove on. So by the time I got there, there was something, you have that feeling where there's something that won't allow you to keep going until this person, until you know this person's okay. That's what was going on in my mind that day. So I stopped and I got out of the car and I walked over to this young lady and I saw that she had a 5-month-old, 6-month-old baby in the car. And so I asked her, was she okay? She was kind of shook up, obviously. And I asked her if she was all right. And she said, yeah, I'm fine. I'm just kind of, I just need a phone. You have a phone? So I pulled out my phone and I gave it to her, right? Now watch this. I'm giving away time because I was supposed to be somewhere and I was already a little behind on schedule, a little behind schedule. So I was already going to be late, but now I'm going to be later. But I stopped and I gave her my cell phone. I didn't have anything. I didn't have any kind of tow truck. I couldn't move her truck or anything for her. But I gave her my cell phone and she was able to call her husband and then she told him what happened and then she called a tow truck and the tow truck came. Now there were cars that were driving by and what I did, so nobody would hit her, I kind of parked my car behind her and turn the flashers on and so people would drive around my car. And then there was a one car that drove by and the driver was rude and he honked his horn, as if to say get out of the way, which I thought was just completely disrespectful. If I could have found a rock, I would have picked it up and threw it at the car just to let you know. But I didn't do that. So I helped her. She was able to get on her way. Tow truck came and it was she was able to get out of there. Um, he says, he says, divide your share in 7 or in 8, for you do not know what disaster will happen on the earth. See, the reason why we need to treat people right and treat people nice and treat people good and do good to people is not because it's the Christian thing to do or whatever, but because number one, you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen next. We don't know what kind of disaster is going to come. And life happens like this. One minute we're up and the next minute we're down. And it doesn't have to be, it's not always a smooth transition from up to down, right? And so not even 6 months later, I'm driving in my car, right? On 59 this time. And my front tire blows on the freeway. It blows. It literally explodes. The time is about 1, maybe 2 o'clock. And during that time in Houston, the traffic is pretty bad, but the cars are still flying. People are still driving crazy. This time it's not raining, but this time it's extremely hot, right? So my tire blows. I managed to get from the left middle lane over to the right with my bad tire, and I got over off on the side of the road, didn't cause any accidents or anything like that. And all I could think about was, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. I'm not going to get paid until the next week, right? So, and I don't have AAA because we let it lapse. That's what happens when you're broke. You kind of let things lapse, right? Let bills lapse. So we let it lapse. I didn't have AAA anymore. But I'm on the side of the road, on the side of this busy freeway. And within 5 to 10 minutes of me pulling over on the side, there's this tow truck that kind of swoops over. I'm not gonna lie, I don't like tow truck drivers for the most part because they usually will cause wrecks trying to get business, and you'll see two cars in a car accident or something, and then like 15 tow trucks. And obviously, all 15 tow trucks aren't going to get the job, but I know they show up and sometimes they get into fights, whatever. And so out here, what they've done is they've made it to where once 5 or 6 tow trucks show up, then they put their names in the hat, and whichever one gets pulled gets the business, which I think is a whole lot better than people fighting over the business, whatever. So, but this particular day, this guy redeemed the name of tow truck drivers. So if you're a tow truck driver, no offense, but no offense by what I just said. But this guy pulled over and he asked me if I needed some help, and I told him what happened. I told him, man, my car, I just had a flat. It just blew, and um, I got a spare in my trunk, but I don't want to change my tire on the side of the road. Um, but man, I don't have any money right now. I don't have any. And he said, man, don't worry about that. You know what? This is a dangerous freeway. This is a dangerous road. I tell you what, just let me get back in. Let me get get where I can get you, where I can hook up the car, or whatever, and I'll tell you where you need to be so you can change your truck, right? Or change your tire. So he takes the truck, hooks me up, pulls me off the side of off the freeway, and pulls me into the parking lot of this gas station, and then he even jacks up my car so I could change my tire. Now, 6 months ago, I didn't have a tow truck to help anyone out, to help the young lady out. But I did have a cell phone so she can call a tow truck. And the way it came back to me was someone had a tow truck. He had a tow truck, took me off the side of the road, helped me change my tire. Actually, took me on the side of the road, helped me change my tire, lifted it up, and I was good to go. And he didn't charge me a dime. Charity goes a long way. Send out your bread on the water, for in many days you will find it. Divide your share in 7 or in 8, for you do not know what disaster will happen on the earth. I never saw that lady again that I helped. I never saw her again, but I was in the same situation that she was in. Now here's a question. If I had not helped her, my tire still would have popped. My tire still would have blew. But the question is, would that guy had stopped? Maybe so, I don't know. But I just believe that the reason why this guy stopped and didn't charge me and helped me lift is because I had sowed, I had sent out my bread on the water. And in many days, I found it. When the lady was driving and she ran into the barrier on the side of the road, I was here because I had the time and the energy to help. She was here because she needed the help. And then 6 months later, I was here because I needed some assistance. And the tow truck driver was here and he helped me. You're going to see it in many days. Take this principle, add it to whatever you're working on in life. Add this, and then just watch what happens. The world will be a whole better place. Oh, the world will be a whole lot better place if we spend our time sending out our bread on the water. See you soon.